there, my name is Bisola Miriam. There are people who are still trying to meet up deadlines of universities, and they haven't done this before, and they are wondering, is it possible to hit that deadline in 3 weeks, okay, without even having any prior interaction or long communication with these schools? So 3 strategies that I want to share very quickly before we go into the screen sharing part of this video is: number 1, when you're applying late in the season, one of the things you want to prioritize is your statement of purpose. Next, you want to prioritize your resume or CV, and of course you want to prioritize connecting with a professor or professors. So you see, yes, there are a lot of steps that you ideally should consider when you're looking to apply to schools abroad. But if it happens that for some reasons you are a late bloomer, these 3 resources or these 3 materials, if you prepare them very well, they are going to make you stand out even when you apply, even though you may be applying late in the season. So how then do you make sure that you have a statement of purpose that is definitely top notch and that would stand out, even though you have not had the chance to win the heart of a professor through a cold email or some other means? So one thing you want to do is work with someone else's templates. Okay, see, you don't have time to start thinking what should be where or what should be in what section. When you're applying late in the season, make sure that you have someone else's template. It is going to save you brainstorming time or unnecessary mistakes, because you're simply using someone else's cheat sheet. Now, the good thing is, this is where you need to be careful. Do not plagiarize, because plagiarism in itself now sin. So don't go and commit sin just because you want to do something. I mean, you just want to use someone else's document, because if you do it and you get caught, you will definitely get caught, because these universities have a system through which they check people's documents. So do not plagiarize. The other thing you want to make sure that you do is make your system template to build your letter of introduction. Now, you've even passed that stage, or even if you still want to try that, make sure you're using someone else's template. You can also make sure that you also try to use someone else's template for building your resume and or CV, especially now that you're applying late in the season. Now, give this a final shot. Make a final effort, make that final effort to reach out to potential advisors or supervisors or individuals. They may not respond to your email, or they may respond and may not be able to talk to you because everything is happening so fast. Still does not overrule the fact that you may get in or that you will get in. So do not assume that because a professor did not read your email, you're going to get fully funded. That is not true. That is a myth. So use these strategies and follow the description, follow the template that I'm going to share in the screen sharing part of this video. Going to be working with my statement of purpose. And so let's get started. So in this statement of purpose, I have written an essay describing my journey, starting from my motivation and goals to my preparation, to my research. And then I went on to articulate my research interest, the questions that describe my research interest, my academic feats, and lastly, my career goals. Okay, so what exactly is this essay for? So this essay is for an application to an AM PhD program at the Crown School. So I already got a master's in social work admission, but I decided to defer so that I can get practice experience. And in this case, I am working and getting the practice experience that I need to make my AM PhD application more competitive. And so because I have plans to go back to school, so I decided to work, make money, do other things, write my books, while also planning for this application, which is due on the 15th of December. So this video is basically for anyone who is looking to apply or who is already applying right now or in the future to programs with fall admission, fall admissions or spring admissions. Okay, But this is a guide. This is not to say that you should copy word for word what I've done, because that's plagiarism. And if you do it, you'll be caught, you'll be penalized, and you may lose that funding that you're looking to get. So let's talk about the different sections in this document. So the very first section here is the motivation section. What exactly have I done in the motivation section? Okay, so the motivation section highlights my, where I'm coming from. Here you see I describe very quickly my story, okay? And then I moved on to talk very quickly about how this, story links with a personal experience, and then how that personal experience is connected to my research interest. So in a very quick fashion, I have simply described my personal story, the communal idea behind that story, which is the fact that I'm interested in this. So the personal started from here to here. And very quickly, I have mentioned or stated the communal aspect of my goal, which is how does this affect or changes the life of other people. Moving on, here I'm describing very quickly, okay, more like summarizing everything that has prepared me for this journey. So after describing these, my preparation in terms of my personal experience, the research I've done, okay, the research that I've done, and then the community advocacy work, then the my work experience, okay, and my my exposure, that's personal development work that has given me insight on these different theories that inform the kind of work I want to do. So I haven't done all of this, and here I am just simply, giving a background, which I'm going to be developing much later in this essay. So from my M&G, which is my motivation and goals, I am stating my prep. Okay, my prep is another word for preparation. So for my preparation, I talked about my previous research experiences, specifying the things that I've done before and the people that I've worked for before. So previous research, University of Alabama, the works that I did with professors there. If you have professors back in an African country, or in a university in Africa or in some other parts of the world that you have worked with, please feel free to state them and what exactly you did with these people. So I mentioned what I did with this professor, and now I am not just talking about professors or what I did in terms of research. I am articulating carefully the things that align with this project. So you may have done so many things with different professors, but do not mention things that do not align with what the professors are looking for, right? So which is what I'm doing here, okay? Or which is what I've done here, mentioning specific people and the specific activities, not just any activity, but the activities that align with this interest. Moving on, I also mentioned the theories that I use for that work, because theories drive research. So you have to understand the theories that, drive or that connect with what you're trying to sell to these professors, or what you're telling them you have done. Okay, so, or to the professors or funding body. Moving on, I shared how this work was considered important and of course was, accepted for presentations. So me, beyond just mentioning what you have done, who you worked with, what you did with that person, and the very thing that aligns with the big research idea you have here, you should be able to say, okay, has this work been accepted elsewhere? Is this something that you just did that you just kept? Or what award did you receive? What recognition did you get for doing that work? Moving on, here I talked about another professor that I worked with and the nature of the project, and how that project, of course, is not just any project, but something that connects with my research interest on how the social and legal systems, complicate the lives of survivors, okay, or vulnerable people generally. So moving on as well, I am mentioning the theories that I used for this work, just like I did for the previous work. And then I was also able to highlight my specific findings in this work. What did I find out? What did I discover? And of course, this paper was also, well, this one was not accepted for any. Yeah, this was also accepted for the Discerning Diverse Symposium, conversation, I remember, for another conference, which is not a big deal, so I didn't mention that here. I mentioned another research paper that I worked on and that was accepted for publication. And what else did I say here? Yes, I also mentioned where that presentation was done. This was an in-person, paper presentation that I worked on. So, yeah, let's move on. So here I'm talking about, now I haven't completed or I haven't talked about the different research experiences. Here I am talking about my, my interactions with my professional experience. So beyond just talking about research, here I'm talking about my professional experience. And in this section, I'm highlighting the places where I have worked and the specific learning or trainings or insight that I gathered from these places, and how those learning experiences or insight are aligned with what I'm looking to understand for my research. Does that make sense? So moving on here, I addressed my work at Apnagar, what I do in that at that workplace, how this role relates with the experiences of survivors, and the things that I have learned that also are relevant for this research interest. So through the same agency, I also talked about the other organizations that I've had the opportunity to interact with. Okay. And I am here just basically giving more details. So we are coming to the end of this, Now, before I ended my comments or my write-up about my professional experience, I was able to state, cite sources to back many of the claims or things that are said in this paragraph or in this section of the documents. So moving on here, we're talking about research interests. Through personal experiences of trauma. Okay, I don't need to read that word for word. I'm talking about my research interest. How did it come about? So I've talked about what has prepared me for this interest. Now I need to talk about what exactly my research interest is. Okay, here I am describing my research interest, and I also describe here my research agenda, the questions that inform that research agenda. Okay, and then here I am moving on to talk about in this last part. Okay, I am highlighting very quickly another source. So beyond just mentioning that, oh, these are my research questions, recall that I did not just jump into mentioning research questions. I gave a quick, there's a paragraph here that touches on me, so in this paragraph, I reminded the committee or the funding body again what my interest is, and then the different things that I've done that resonate or relate to that interest. And I mentioned something that I didn't mention before, which is, my advocacy work, in Nigeria, leveraging on new media and traditional media and civic organizations, and here I'm trying to say that with all this research exposure, my work experience, and these, other extracurricular activities or, voluntary activities, I have been able to continue. I have continued to expand my understanding of my research agenda. And so I then mentioned the research questions that I look toward work on. or that I want to explore. So here I'm mentioning how the social and legal systems, blah, 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 blah. So these are the different questions, the big questions that I want to focus on for my research. Now, I am concluding this section with an authoritative source. So I'm citing a source that also has described how social and legal systems complicate the lives of survivors or vulnerable people or re-traumatized survivors. Okay, so here I am looking at, in this very section, I am talking about what I'm going to be learning. So now let's think about everything that I've said so far has been about where I'm coming from, what I want to do. So I want to now talk specifically about the program or programs that I'm applying for. Here I'm highlighting that, I am specifying very quickly that based on my interest, okay, this program would allow me to do X, Y, Z. So I'm here stating specifically what this program would help me achieve. Just like you should be able to look at the program that you're applying to and say, okay, what exactly will you be able to learn through what program? If it is a combined program, you should be able to differentiate what you will learn from the AM or the master's program or the master's in social work, and of course what you're going to be learning in the PhD program. Does that make sense? So I haven't said these about the master's component of my goal. Here I am, stating the PhD components. So after talking about what the PhD part would help me achieve, which is mainly research, before I even went to talk about that, I talked about what I am looking to learn from the PhD, which is to develop my mixed method research skills, and what exactly are those research, skills that I want to develop. And then I mentioned them. So I am also bringing my question here again, what I want to do, so that they don't forget what I want to do, and then they keep seeing it pop up and they keep thinking about it, and they'll keep asking themselves, do we have the capacity to fund what this person wants to do? Which of course I have already done work on, which I'm confident about, but it's a different thing when they are reading it. So I have to constantly bring in that or those research questions that, animate my interests or that form my research agenda. So after doing that, I'm mentioning the research questions again, but like I'm expanding the questions even more. And to conclude this part, I said that I plan to carry out a study that, would focus on the questions that I've mentioned. And how do I intend to carry out this study? I want to work with social and legal service providers. I will collaborate with them, select groups of vulnerable people, including and not limited to incarcerated people, survivors of gender-based violence, not just those groups of people who are navigating social and legal systems as well as their family members. So I said, how do I want to do this? I mentioned very quickly that I'm going to use a mixed method research approach. So why are you good for our program? This is basically what academic fit is about. ACAD fit, okay? So here I am focusing on why I'm a good student for them, or why I'm a good candidate. And beyond that, I think what this academic fit section really is that I should be able to tell why their program is the only program that can allow me achieve this goal. So I should be able to say, why is it that I want to come here? Why can't I go elsewhere? Or is there no other place where I can achieve this? And I haven't thought critically about this. I must tell you sincerely that there is no other place where I can achieve this except the Crown School. And the reason I say that is not because I want to flatter the admission committee, but because I've been in the state for almost 2 years now. I've done my due diligence, and I cannot see any program here among the highly ranked programs in the States. among the highly ranked social work universities or programs, even in the state or in the world. There is no program that offers what the Crown School offers. And because of the JD component of my education, I have checked all the Ivy League schools. I've checked Yale, I've checked Harvard, I've checked Stanford, and the big schools or the top 10 schools in the US. Guess what? Those other schools don't offer what I'm looking to achieve, but the Crown School. Not just that, the Crown School is the only one, based on my finding, that offers full ride scholarship for you to be able to do a social work master's that can allow you practice and also a PhD. So, I mean, where else would I apply to if not here, based on my career goal, right? So, I haven't said all of that. I'm just saying that so that if you're watching this video, you ask yourself, why am I applying to this program? Am I actually ready, or is my application ready for this? Or can I just go ahead and spend more time, spend the next 3 months to 6 months, get internship experiences or exposure or whatever it is that can help you be more competitive? But I'm here saying that, see, based on what I've described here, I know what I'm looking for. So here I am simply stating my child, the specific courses that would help enrich my understanding. So here I am basically saying that these are the things that you have that I can't find elsewhere. And that is why I've chosen this program. And that is why this program is fit for my academic goal. Okay. Having said that, so I mentioned some courses. This is a course. Okay. I also mentioned, CBT. This is another social work, this is another course that the Crown program offers. I also mentioned, child and adolescent, another course here, and what these courses offer and how these courses would help me better think and understand my research agenda. Okay. So when I finished everything here, I went on to talk about my research agenda and how my research agenda aligns with the work of current professors. So I have to say this, it's important that you identify people that you want to work with. Now, if this is an academic application, of course, you have to identify professors, but if it is not academic per se, you have to align what you're looking to achieve with what the mission or vision of that organization is. So here I have simply stated that my interest is this, okay? And I want to do this with this set of people. So it makes sense that you do like a thorough search, and I'm going to show you something. So this is me showing you. So how did I come about this Crown Family School? So going to the website, checking the list of the different professors, that I want to work with based on, their research. And it's important that you do your work diligently and say, okay, what am I looking to do? What do I want to understand? Who are those doing what I want to do in this university or at that program? This is the same thing if you're applying to a science-based program or a social science or physical science, whatever, or even a law program or an MBA. You have to find people whose work you're interested in. So when I came here, I was able to look at parenting and families, and these are the people that came up. Okay, and from what I see here, okay, this person is already listed in my application based on what I can see here. This person is also listed on my application. So let's say if another keyword that also animates my interest based on area of expertise is criminal justice system or social policy. So I can go to criminal justice or legal policy or, these other buzzwords, and let's see what comes up. These are the things that helps you identify whether you're doing something right or doing something wrong. This person is also up again, okay? You see, This person is also up again. Okay, you see? Now, this person is also up, which is also another name you'll find in my application. And yeah, one more thing. Let's look at trauma. Let's look at, trauma is another keyword for my research. Let's look at trauma, not just immigration trauma, just trauma. Trauma informed. Okay, let's look at violence and trauma. Okay. Okay, you see this you see that person, the name based on what I've written in my essay already. They are still popping up. You see that? All this to say that I have done some level of good work. If I can, I mean, I've done a great job. And I feel good about what I've done. So one more thing I want to share here is, so I'm just showing you all of this so you kind of understand how I came about identifying names of people, what they do. So now, this is not to say you should go and be, I say this because I'm basically teaching you something. The disclaimer is I do not approve that you should go write emails to people without first, verifying. Don't go listing people's names without first talking to them via email or whatever means that you want to use. And so beyond mentioning the names of these people, I was able to show how what they're doing aligns with what I'm trying to understand. Okay. Now, I also mentioned here another professor whose name I somehow didn't pop up when I was showing you some other details. But of course, because of what this person also does, this professor was listed. So this is me just sharing very quickly how I came about what I have built here. Okay. So now this is the last part. Still talking about fits. So I describe my academic fits based on based on my academic plan, the researchers, and recommendation. So I built my academic fits using 3 key ideas. My academic plan, what am I looking for in a program? Okay. 2, my research agenda. And 3, my recommendation, the recommendation that came from people that I've spoken with. Okay. And all of that helped me to describe my interest for this school. So now for the career goals, career goal is the last part of my application, which I call the CG. So the career goal is, what do you want to do with this? What next after this? And so the career goal is, I want to do X, Y, Z. And here I am saying that when I think about my scholarship, I talked about the fact that I am someone who would work within the academia and also practice. So, and I said that a program such as this will give me that opportunity to do, something that I am very interested in. Okay. And also mentioned that because of my interest in doing this program would allow me do this. And I also mentioned that, so now in this career goals, I am not just mentioning what I'll be doing in the future. I'm mentioning some of the things that I am working on that would contribute to this future plan. And I also stated here how the steps that I'm taking to get to this place that would take me to this, to take me to this level that I'm looking to get to. And some concerns that they may have, I have addressed, such as, hey, how are you going to achieve all of this? You want to do an AM PhD, you still want to get a JD. I stated everything there. And when I finished, I went on to talk about how my interest in social work and law can help me better understand my research agenda, or better, work on my research agenda. So I'm here trying to not defend, but like convince them that beyond getting the AM or the Masters in Social Work and the JD, I mentioned that these two programs would help me do a better PhD work, or will allow me do a more comprehensive research for my PhD. When I finished everything, I also mentioned some of the challenges that I've been able to overcome, just so they know that I know how rigorous this path is going to be. But as someone who has demonstrated in the past that I'm capable of overcoming any difficulty, I stated those difficulties, or one of those major ones, and how I was able to surmount it. I also mentioned that, yes, so I have done like 3 degrees before now, but that does not mean that I don't know what I'm doing. Now I know what I want, and that is why I am pursuing this path. Okay. When I finished, I also then concluded saying that this is how I would use all the trainings, this that I will get, the skills that will be developed. And I believe that if I finish, or when I finish this program, I'll be able to continue to do research and also collaborate with African scholars and scholars from Africa and other countries. And yeah, it is my view that through collaborative scholarship across the world, researchers will be better equipped to mitigate all forms of violence and social problems. Okay, that's it from my end in terms of this essay. I hope I did well. So let's get into the resume. So the resume part is something I'm just going to run over very quickly. Okay, let's go to the resume, okay? So the resume part is something I'm going to go over very quickly. So my, this is AM, PhD, this. When I finish this. So this is for my CV, not resume. I think I said that wrongly. So for the CV, I simply stated, so you should have for the CV, have the heading, name, address. You should have your education, okay? Where all the education that you've, all the educations you've had, just list all of them in a way that describes the degrees, what you did for those programs, for those level of education, where you had this education. And for instance, if you've done a master's before, did you work on any research? What did you do for that, in that for that paper, for that research? And for the 8 masters, just state everything you have done before. That's basically the thing here. Mention the honors and awards that you have received. I'm going to have to update this section so that I can include new awards. Okay. Research. Yeah. Paper presentations. What did you do? When did you do these things? Mention those research works that you've done. And I mentioned some manuscripts that I'm working on. Those are like papers or books. I also mentioned the books that I've written. Mention everything. Teaching, what the kind of teaching roles that I've taken before. So mention everything you've done. The services, community service, everything that you've done before. Mention everything, the organizations you've worked with. Just make sure that you mention everything, and that would be all as far as this is concerned. I hope you find this really useful, go pre-order the book. If not on my website, go to other places where you pre-order your books. You definitely find my book somewhere, Amazon and those other platforms. And of course, if you found this useful, why don't you leave a comment?